Well, we knew that Hardin-Simmons and Mary Hardin-Baylor didn't agree on the football field, but we didn't necessarily know that the players don't even agree on where to eat in the Belton, Texas area. I'm coming in a little bit late on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to be reffing some flag football games down in Austin. I'm going to drive up, and I'm going to be hungry. Okay. Now, I've been taught the breakfast burrito situation in Belton and other places in Texas, obviously. But you were from there for a little while. You did have a stay at Mary Hardin-Baylor. Lunchtime, for a good quick lunch that's authentic, where do I go in Belton?
Hey, man, being in Central Texas, man, you can't go wrong getting some barbecue. So I'd have to send you over to old Miller's. Yeah, Miller's Barbecue. They're going to get you right. They got their homemade sodas. They got whatever barbecue you want, man. You can go tear that up. They'll for sure treat you right.
Do you think I could pack some of that up? JB, would you like me to send you some Millers if I can get it to work right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got some barbecue joints here in Florida, but I'm sure they do not compare at all to what they got going on there in Central Texas.
Jalisco's.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would I get there?
It's like a Mexican food restaurant. You get anything there, honestly.
Okay. Sounds good. So, Jalisco's. JB, now you've heard two answers, Miller's and Jalisco's. If I had to send you some food down in Orlando, which one would you prefer, do you think?
Well, I mean, you can't go wrong. It's a win-win situation, Frank. You get the Texas-style barbecue and the Tex-Mex. It's like, to me, it's a double winner right there. You can't go wrong with either way.
Well, needless to say, JB, I think I have some options, and I'm not going to leave hungry when I get up there or down there to Belton, Texas. I'll be flying into Austin, so I will be going north at some point. So I will give you a full report Saturday evening at 5 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, when we're doing our pregame show as to what I choose for my afternoon lunch, snack, whatever you want to call it at that point.
You better have it. Yes. I used to go to Dallas for work for many years, and you can't beat the barbecue in Texas. I know maybe some folks in Memphis or North Carolina or wherever might disagree, but I was always a big fan of the Texas barbecue there. And then the Tex-Mex too is just as good. I mean, maybe it doesn't beat out my old hometown of Los Angeles as far as Mexican food is concerned. But it's still, I imagine what you're going to be experiencing is probably a little bit better than what I'll have in Orlando this weekend. Well,
I'll think of you for about 5 seconds while I'm eating all that food.
Yeah,
and I'll
sure.
think of you when I say right now, this is the Week 4 preview show for Season 14 of In the Huddle. Okay, we're not live this week because I am in the air literally as this show debuts, or maybe just before I get into the air. Maybe I'm at my gate, but either way, Newark to Austin is going to be the pathway to getting down to Belton. And we wanted to preview the game with some interviews, and we're going to do that right off the bat here, and then talk about the rest of the games across the country. Hardin-Simmons, Mary Hardin-Baylor. Before we get to that interview cycle here, JB, we've talked about it, the 2019 field goal with no time left scenario, as Avila kicked that one and got it through, and it was not an easy kick by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Normally, then when you've got to run on to make it happen, it's even tougher.
9 seconds and counting, and they're going to have to hurry and line up. This is going to be a 42-yard attempt to win the game by Anthony Avila. And they just get it away. The kick is up. and good. Mary Hart-Baylor wins it at the buzzer. A 42-yard field goal, and the crew has come Hardin-Simmons 15.
So there was that, and then there's the Mary Hardin-Baylor storming through in the first half game in spring 2021, and then having to really hold on to win the game ultimately. A whole bunch of shenanigans going on, special teams and otherwise, in that game. Mm-hmm. So you've got this team that's knocking on the door, but a lot of the Mary Hardin-Baylor fans, I'm not going to lie to you, the stuff that we're hearing all week, they don't have a confidence in Hardin-Simmons right now that they're going to be that team that we've seen in the last two games. By yourself.
I think it's tough, Frank, because I think the Mary Hardin-Baylor's fans' overconfidence is a sell. Because these big rivalry games, you don't necessarily see one team really getting blown out. I mean, just look back at what happened with Alabama and Florida. I mean, I don't think anyone thought Florida had a realistic chance to win that game, given how good Alabama's been. But lo and behold, came down to the final seconds. It could be the same deal here. We'll have to wait and see.
I think that this is going to be a good game. I don't see teams in the 50s. I don't see teams in the 40s in this game. I see teams in the 30s.
Are too good.
Yeah, 30s and 20s. If we have a lopsided game, it's going to be a 10 to 14 point lopsided game. It's not going to be a 30-point lopsided game. But it could be a 1-point game. Could be overtime. Who knows? We've got two members of the teams here that are going to talk about it. First up, Kyle Jones, the quarterback for Hardin-Simmons. Interesting to select him to speak with because he came from Mary Hardin-Baylor. He started 4 games in 2017. So he knows this team. And now having transferred, he wants to beat that team. Let's hear from him. We're pleased to have Kyle Jones with us, senior quarterback, Hardin-Simmons University. The Cowboys have this big game, as we said before this interview. And Kyle, people always kind of look at us like we're overselling this game, the meaning behind this game. You've been on, at least, on the teams-wise, both sides of this rivalry. We'll get to that in a second, but can we really oversell this rivalry?
Man, you can't ever oversell a rivalry because no matter what, if there's a number by the team's name, like for this instance, like they're number 2 or number 7, you have to give that opponent every ounce of respect that they deserve because it is a rivalry game. But man, counting this one out or not hyping it up enough is never an issue.
Kyle, as Frank alluded to, you'd spent a few years at UMHB, and now you've been with HSU for a couple of years now. Aside from both being really outstanding football programs, what else would you say are some of the big similarities and differences between these two schools?
I mean, great programs. They obviously have a great foundation, and I can say that both programs have great foundations, great history of coaches, great history of players, just great cultures overall, and in that way they're real similar, but there's also ways that they're very different that I've enjoyed on both ends of the spectrum.
Well, you've enjoyed it on both ends of the spectrum, but they've enjoyed you on both ends of the spectrum for the simple reason you're a very good quarterback. You're one that JB was watching closely during the spring when we had a little less in terms of the static of other teams to watch throughout the country. We got to focus a lot on ASC football, SAA football, a lot of the Southern football teams that we don't necessarily get to see. But I remember JB saying this Kyle Jones guy is one to watch, and you are. Indeed, you've been leading this team in ways that are special. Let's stop for a second on the rivalry. Just look at the rest of the season so far. Some folks are questioning, the Belhaven game and the closeness of that game to a certain degree, but obviously your team pulls it out. Kind of take us through the flow so far this season and what you've seen from your team, especially offensively.
The flow of the season's been different. Obviously, just all the COVID stuff. We've had guys missing. every week. We've had to puzzle piece just game plans together sometimes. One of our coaches, our OC and quarterback coach, he always says that every week is like a different chapter in a book, and nothing in it is going to be the same as the previous chapter or the one coming after that. And so just like a chapter in a book, we've had to almost write our own script in every aspect. And as far as the game last week, man, Belhaven has improved their coaching and game like night and day from the last time we played them. And it's been 2 years since the last time we played them. So we obviously came out and got the job done, but they had a great game plan of holding the ball from us, and we had very limited drives to make it happen. But I'm glad we got it done, and it's a testament that our whole conference as a whole is getting better, and that it's not just this game that we worry about, or not worry about, that we look forward to every year, but every game is like, it matters, and our conference is getting better and competition is getting stronger. But as far as just the flow of this season, man, it's been like a roller coaster, and I mean, we're all just locked in and writing our own chapter every week.
Kyle, to put things maybe into a little more context, you guys won your first 2 games by a combined 76-0. You were going into week 3 against a Belhaven team that had kind of dropped a sort of surprising loss to Southwestern the week before. Like you said, you guys hadn't played them in 2 years. You put 63 points on them in 2019. And then all of a sudden, your first drive, you complete a pass and your receiver fumbles the ball and they go on a 10-play drive and they score. Your next drive, you go out, you make a couple of runs, you complete a pass, you get sacked, and you have to punt. And all of a sudden, it's 10-0 in the second quarter, and then it seemed like the light bulb went off, and then the points started coming. First off, how did you deal with some of that frustration of, well, I mean, it's a smart defensive move to keep Kyle Jones on the sideline to stop him from scoring points. But, how did you kind of, get the offense back on track to say, okay, guys, we spotted him some points here. It's, let's get back on track and get into this game.
Yeah, I mean, we felt like, especially the previous 2 games, we've been taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And it's eliminating that step back, maybe not every 2 steps, but maybe every 10 steps. And the light bulb just finally went off that, yeah, we're having to puzzle piece stuff together, but we're still a great offense. We got great receivers, a great line, a great running back, a great group of running backs. And we should never lose confidence in that. And sometimes whenever we don't score a lot of points, we're like, dang, are we really that good? Yeah, we're that good. We just got to figure out how we can be good. And every team differs, from 2019 to now, we have a different identity as an offense. And I think as an offense altogether, we are still trying to find that, but we are taking steps forward toward that.
Well said. But let's look at now the game. 2019, it was the rushed on field goal just in time by Mary Hardin-Bailey. You guys thought you probably had them, and they bit you back. In 2021 spring, they dominated the first half. I don't think anybody would doubt that. And you guys just rallied back and really put on an attempt to take them down, and it just fell short again. For you, this is probably it, I would have to guess, in terms of years left to play and all that stuff. So, I mean, is there a frustration level at this point that since you've been there, you haven't gotten over the hump yet? And what would it mean if you guys were able to get over that hump and beat them, not just from a national perspective, because everybody's talking about rankings right now after what happened with North Central overtaking Mary Hardin-Baylor by 1 point this weekend, and then what happens if and all this other stuff. Let's ignore that. What does it mean if you guys as a team can overcome Mary Hardin-Baylor after some of the recent history?
I mean, especially the recent history. Man, those are 2 incredible games to be a part of. again, rivalry games that you dream of as a kid, no matter what level we're playing at. But man, it'd be hard to put into words, because just like the journey that all of these guys have been on, like a ton of this group, Hardin-Simmons has been a part of those 2 losses, and then also just more than 2 years before that, like there was a bunch of close games, great battles. It would just be just a great step for this program, and we've been knocking on the door for a long time, and I think the coaches, players, parents, everyone who's a part of it would just love to see us take another step forward, because I mean, we put in the work, we strap on our helmets just like those guys do, and I mean, we have all the reason to take a step forward this weekend. But it's going to be a crazy game. I already know it. It's going to be a ton of fun, and those dudes definitely aren't going to just roll the ball out and give it to us. We're going to have to hold our own against them, and I think it'd be a blessing just to come off the field with a victory, but also if we put up a daggum good fight, like there's going to be all the more reason for us to earn that respect that we have, and that's why we have like a number 7 by our ranking and our name. And it's because this game isn't just a big game because of them, like we make it a great game also because of how good we are. And I would just love to see this program take the next step, and to be a part of it would be awesome. I would love to be part of that.
Well, I'm sure a lot of those people who are chatting about the rankings would love to see a little bit of an upset, so to speak, as well. But, Kyle, it seems to me, looking more objectively, at the Belhavian game, the last time you guys played, it seems like, if I can, be constructively, critical here, you guys have gotten off to some slow starts. How do you avoid that in this game, in this, it's going to be a big game atmosphere? How do you get off to a good, quick start and not, kind of set yourselves back and sort of force yourselves, okay, here we go again. We're kind of climbing uphill, versus getting out and getting a quick score to maybe quiet down the home crowd?
Right. Yeah. We definitely take pride in getting off to fast starts, and that's usually like a great thing of our success. Like we get the ball rolling, and then it just kind of snowball effects after that. But the past 2 weeks, we've had 2 turnovers in the very first drive, and that's kind of like punched us in the gut both weeks, and we've had to really check ourselves, just kind of regroup and just, again, find our identity that I think we're still searching for. But I think just getting off to a fast start, whether that's making a good drive and pinning them deep on a punt, or making a good drive, getting a field goal, just something positive like that we move the ball in an effective way, that I think that will definitely like help get our confidence up and get us off and rolling.
Kyle, you talked about the COVID difficulties with some scratches on your team that have had to happen and whatnot. Tell me, in your honest opinion right now, standing here right now, when you're at full strength and all your players are on that field, is Hardin-Simmons a national championship caliber team in your view in 2021 in the fall season?
Absolutely. I mean, our coaches always joke about it, like we're the oldest team, most experience that Hardin-Simmons has ever had. And like me being an old guy, like jokes aside, but like we have a ton of dudes that have played in meaningful games, and just to like have everybody at full strength and have our whole team at full strength, like we're going to be definitely a team to keep an eye on. And I mean, we love being counted out. That's we've been counted out a lot of times in the past decade, and I think at full strength we can definitely turn some heads, and then also I mean, just push forward with whatever we have. And but I mean, this far, like whatever we've had to puzzle piece together, we've gotten the job done, and I think we're going to continue to do that. And hopefully the day comes whenever all of us are on the field together at full capacity and going.
To be one of those old dudes, Frank, man, I wish. Oh, man. Oh, it's great. Well, Kyle, you guys have, like you said, you've got the experience, you've got, the playmakers on your team. And, we talked a little bit about this with Luke and Braden Anthony from Wheaton. I have imagined that, based on the cross around your neck, there's also some faith there, too, that you guys can get the job done. And, I certainly wish you the best of luck. I know that in the springtime, Frank gave me a hard time because I was picking you guys to win the ASC, and you came pretty close. I mean, if there was a little more time at the end of that game, and if there was maybe a better start, anything can happen. So, as is a long-standing tradition on our show, we like to offer the student athletes, even the old guys like yourself, the opportunity to shout out any friends, family, current, past, college, high school teammates. The floor is yours, Kyle, and thank you again for joining us. And good luck on Saturday night. Keep a lookout for some stranger wearing a 5-gallon hat off to the side of the field, perhaps.
All right. Yeah, I mean, just first off, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He, every opportunity I've gotten to play, health-wise, financial-wise, it's just been a blessing. Then also just a shout out to my family, my mom and dad, my brother Tyler, my fiance, Keely Laird. She's been a rock for me. We've had to do some long distance relationship for a while, and just all those, the people know who they are that have truly been a great foundation for me, pushing me to not only transferring a few times, but finally finding home, and then getting behind me still through it all, man. All my friends and family, Derek Sides, Grayson Edwards, Robbie West, Matt Mitchell. I can go on a long tangent, but those people know who they are, and they got a special place in my heart, and got nothing but faith and love, and ready to go play some football, have a fun week of practice.
There's Kyle Jones. You can tell he's a little nervous before the camera, but you can tell also he's a good team leader for sure. Before we go too deep into that discussion, though, let's bring in the Mary Hardin-Baylor selection here. He's been around for a while. He's had the ability to come back for various reasons, including COVID, or the COVID year, and he chose to. He didn't have to, that's for sure, and he has a possible future in pro football. But first things first, he's got a big game to play this Saturday, as he got knocked out of the last time they played in the second half because of a targeting call. Jefferson Fritz of Mary Hardin-Baylor. Jefferson, to this day, one of my favorite photos, and I'm not showing partiality here, but one of my favorite photos is this photo that I'm putting on the screen with you and me from 2018 after Mary Hardin-Baylor won the national championship against good old Mount Union, and there's a team that maybe second on your list of teams you probably despise compared to Hardin-Simmons out there. We'll get to both in a second. But Jefferson, I got an interesting question for you, and I was talking to some friends down in Belton earlier about the implications of it. Mary Hardin-Baylor's had a great season so far, and yet you just fell from number 1 to number 2 in the D3Football.com Top 25 poll by 1 point to North Central. Does that make sense to you? Do you find motivation from it? I mean, what's going on here? And tell us, coming into this weekend, you guys have been pretty much rolling. Tell us about the season so far and your thoughts on what happened here.
I think our season so far has been really good. It's really showed us what we're all about. I would just say that, North Central is a really good football team. I think they've beaten 2 top 10 teams. And I don't think we really look at it, number one, number two, whatever number it is. I just think we got to go out there and play our best football, and I think that's what we have done so far. And we'll see what's coming up for us this weekend.
Yeah, Jefferson, speaking of this weekend, I mean, you guys, in a way, have already played this team, in a conference championship game just a few months back in the spring. Tell us a little bit about what that spring season was like for you guys, and how has it helped you prepare for what's coming up on Saturday?
I would say in the spring, we were really trying to find ourselves as a team because we were really, really young. We had to have a lot of people step up. There were some injured people that didn't even play all spring. So I just think in the spring, whenever we played them, it was really good for our football team to come out with the win, but we were really sloppy. But that did motivate us to coming into the next year that we really want to be the best football team we could. And we saw a lot of young people step up for our team, and that really are contributing this year to the team. So just going into that matchup this year, it gives us a lot of confidence knowing we didn't play our best football last year, and hopefully we will this Saturday.
There's an old joke going around that Jefferson Fritz has been around UMHB as long as Pete Fredenberg has, and obviously you've got a good tenure there, and various things have happened along the way, and then COVID happens. You didn't have to come back this year, from what I understand, and some people think there's unfinished business for you. Some people think that it's kind of one of those you just love the game too much things, or that you love your teammates too much. Why did you come back this year? Give us, it could be all that. So go ahead, take the floor. Why are you back this year?
So the number one reason I came back this year was because I have a really good group of friends here, and we just been on this journey together, and we wanted to come out on top our last year. Last year, or I guess 2 years ago, losing to Whitewater kind of left a sour taste in our mouth, and I really didn't want to end on that. So I just really wanted to come back and just prove that UMHB is still one of the top teams in the nation, and we want to win the Natty this year, and that's really why I came back. And also, I just love the program, love UMHB, just all about it, honestly.
Well, a big reason why you guys have been off to a good start is I think some of the young guys you were referring to earlier might have been on that offensive line. You practice against them. You've seen the two quarterbacks in action on a daily basis. Tell us about their journey from your perspective as a defensive player, and really where is the kind of the bar being set for them going forward?
I would say the bar being set for them, just to answer that last question, it's always high here, no matter what position you play or whatever position group you are in. And I think they have exceeded the expectation that week in, week out, just protecting the quarterback, run blocking, just everything. They do everything so great. And then just the quarterback, he reads his keys. Kyle King reads his keys, makes the right plays, and doesn't turn the ball over. And that's really key to be a great football team, is to don't turn the ball over.
So we talked to Kyle Jones, a guy obviously. He was with the team for a couple of years and started 4 games, if I remember correctly, back in 2017. And it's got to be a little bittersweet to see him across the way that this has played out. But obviously, he's wearing the wrong jersey at this point, and it makes all bets off. But this team has come so razor-thin close to beating you guys the last 2 attempts. The field goal with Vila getting out there just in time, and then obviously the attempted comeback after a first half they wish they could forget from the spring. You had an interesting go of it in the second half of that game as well. But do you ever get concerned that this team is going to be able to get over the top even at Belton the way it is this year, on homecoming, at night? I mean, we got every card stacked here, it feels like. But, I mean, is there a concern that this team is getting their traction here enough to probably or possibly beat you at some point in time, and this could be the year?
Just a confidence thing. I'm sure they're saying the same thing. No, we're going to beat them this year, all this stuff. But I think, honestly, what we can do at UMHB is just worry about our team and really just go into the game not thinking, oh, we're just going to, pretty much beat these guys. We really have to go out there and play. Just because we're the number 1 or number 2 team in the nation doesn't mean any team we play can't beat us. We still have to go out there and play. And Kyle Jones over there, he is dangerous, I would say. And he's a really good guy. And he's gotten that team together to where, okay, they are starting to make a push to where they are trying to beat us. But there's really no concern over here. Honestly, we just got to line up and play against them the way we always do and just play ball on Saturday.
Yeah, play ball. I'm sure you will. So Jefferson, I know most of the D3 world knows you as a first team All-American safety. You're a big guy. You can bring the hits. You've had some pick sixes. You return punts. But one of the more interesting things that I discovered in the stat sheet, and you have to explain this to me because I don't know how many first-team All-Americans also either volunteered to be or somehow named the punter on their team. Now, the good news is that your offense is so good you don't really have to punt too much, so maybe it was just sort of a, okay, we'll just throw them out there every once in a while. But how has UMHB not gotten some kid from somewhere to be the punter, and it's you?
I have no idea. The day they asked me if I could punt, I was like, well, yeah, I punted in high school. My dad was a punter in college. He taught me how to punt. So I was like, yeah, it can't be that hard. So just went out there and punted, and it was, halfway decent. And so they were like, okay, you're an athlete. If we ever want to fake the ball, you're there. We trust you. If not, just kick the ball as far as you can. I said, okay, bet.
Can't be that hard, JB. Go ahead. Go do it for them.
As a dad with 5 teenagers, the fact that if it's ever like, oh, if dad can do it, it must be easy. That's I've heard that a million times. But Jefferson, I've seen you on Instagram. Some of your workouts are they're legendary. You have potentially pro football strength or a future there. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I have to ask you a kind of a serious question. Is not wearing shoes in the weight room a good idea? Because I've seen a lot of these barefoot shots here, and all it takes is one guy to drop a 100-pound dumbbell or a plate or something. You're too valuable a player to the Crusaders to be just running around in bare feet. How has this possibly gone on for as long as it has, man?
Oh, man. So I'm from the country, I will say that. But just in the weight room, I train with my cousin back home, and it's usually just us 2 training. So we trust each other, and we're pretty responsible. And I just really like working out barefooted. I don't know what it is. Right. I don't really like shoes. I don't know while I'm working out. I really don't like just having the feeling of shoes on. I don't know. It might sound weird, but yeah, it just kind of went on. And the coaches at UMHB always tell me to put shoes on in the weight room. Somebody's going to drop a weight on your foot. But if they're going to drop it on your foot, it's probably still going to break with the shoe on. So either way.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Lifting when he lifts? Yes, indeed, it will. Okay, let's face it. You've obviously put on a lot of muscle since I saw you even in 2018 from looking at some of your school photos that have come out. It's clear that you have hit the weight room extremely hard over the last, 3 years or so. But let me shift for a second here. You've been through enough of these. You've seen enough of these. And people, as I asked Kyle, or said to him, people kind of pick on us about overselling this rivalry game and the meaning behind it and everything else. In your own words, what does this game mean? Can you oversell this game, as I asked him?
No, I don't think so. You can... Man, that's hard. This game is the conference championship. So therefore, whoever wins this game is probably going to get into the playoffs, have that number 1 seed. For us, that's how it's been. So if we lose this game, it really means a lot for our program. And then where do we end up making the playoffs? If we do make the playoffs, if we don't, this game definitely has a lot riding on it. I think for both teams, honestly. So it's going to be a very, very competitive match, which it always is. And we both play each other extremely hard. I don't know if you can oversell this game. I I don't know. It just means too much to both programs, honestly. This is probably one of the biggest rivalries we ever have, honestly.
Yeah, I guess you can't take Texas football rivalries for granted, man, because this is like a mini UT or Texas Tech, whatever you want to call it, Red River shootout. It's all of those things built in together. Now Jefferson, for a program like the Crusaders and for a player like yourself, you've been in a lot of big games. Are there certain is it just sort of yet another game for you guys? Are there certain rituals that you guys do to kind of get ready for these big matchups, or once again you're just going and doing your practice, you're watching your film, you put your uniform on, you go out and play the game?
Yeah, it's I would say it's about the same, just a lot more intense, just because it is a lot riding on this game. We don't do nothing special though. I mean, watch film, go to practice. I mean, just the normal stuff. I mean, we try not to hype it up too much to where our team doesn't feel like we're not too big for this moment. We just go out there, play our game, do what we do. And that's just however the game turns out on Saturday. That's how it turns out.
You remember good old Blake Jackson, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, sir.
He taught us a lot about the fact that just because you play one position in college doesn't mean that you can't play another position in the pros, and that versatility is important to NFL scouts out there. You are as versatile as they come in terms of being a defensive back, a punt returner, a punter, etc. I don't think this is a strange question to ask you, and I think you've been asked it several times before, so let's talk about it. What are the pro prospects for you after this season?
Man, it's definitely crazy to think about, but I mean, I'd be willing to just go to a team. It doesn't matter who. I just want to try out. It's exciting. It is. I'm really just right now worried about this season, getting the job done here before I even worry about all that stuff. But definitely I would play any position, whatever they ask. And it's just been a crazy journey. And if it turns out, good, then I'll hopefully get a chance to go play at the next level. Not a lot of people get to say that. And it just be a very blessed opportunity for me, my family, just to even be recognized by the NFL.
Yeah, certainly. That would be amazing. It's not something that we get to see too often in Division III, but at least I think for the guys, especially like yourself, who were able to hang on for a little while longer and are going to be finished with their senior year or their college career by the end of 2021. In 2022, there will be not only the the NFL opportunities potentially, but XFL, other leagues are starting to build back up, which could open the doors to other folks. Have you spoken with any Crusaders alumni who have taken that next step, and have they advised you kind of on sort of the things that they wish that they had known, getting into this whole process, or like you said, you're just focused on Saturday's game and you worry about all that in December?
I haven't talked to them in depth about it. I have talked to former players who have went and played. But what I have talked to them about, I wanted to know if I had a real shot at going. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I think I got a real shot, but really don't know. And just talking with them and just getting their experience on how, they went about it is really important to me, because they've been there, they've done that. And them just saying, yeah, you got a really good shot at making it. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, okay, like that's all the answers I needed from them. And then, like you said, in December, I'll figure it all out after we win the Natty, hopefully.
Well, regardless of whether you win the Natty or not, I'm going to tell you, as somebody that's come across enough football players over time and watched the Quinn Miners of the world and Ali Marpet and a lot of others, you've got a certain thing about you that's going to be really, really good for scouts looking at you down the line. There's just, okay, you've got the strength, you've got the speed, you've got the ability to play, and the versatility, like I said. So I won't be surprised if we don't hear more about you after December, regardless of what happens in this season. And we're going to wish you luck, because we always, regardless of team, root for D3 players to find their ways to the pros. So before all that, though, my friend, you got a big game coming up this Saturday. So let's focus on that. But also, let's focus on one thing that's a tradition on our show, he said, which is shout-outs to any friends, family, teammates, anybody that might be watching. Jefferson Fritz, the floor is yours.
Oh, Lord. Shout-out to my mom, dad, sisters, brother, brothers in the military in Florida. Hope you're having a good time. Cousin, all my best friends, and anybody else I didn't mention. Love all y'all.
Your brother who's in the military, his name is?
Jackson.
Jackson, thank you for your service. And thank you, Jefferson.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
Okay. Jones, Fritz. Jones hopes not to see much of Fritz in the game, obviously. If he does, it's probably a bad news, unless it's on punt returns or punts or something like that. But you get the point here. This is going to be, I think, one in terms of how well the offensive Hardin-Simmons can execute here. They're going to have to put up points. There's no doubt about it in my mind. We can talk about the quarterback play, Mary Hardin-Baylor, all we want. And there's still, Kyle King is a very good quarterback. Maybe not the echelon we were hoping for yet, at least, for a national championship type quarterback. But, hey, time will tell. This could be a defining game for him. But Kyle Jones and his offense, I think, are the key to this game versus the defense of Mary Hardin-Baylor. Yes or no?
I'm a broken record, Frank, because I keep bringing it back to that spring game and the job that the Crew offensive line just did, totally demolishing, the front 4, 7, 8, 9, of the Cowboys. It was a really impressive performance if you're a Crusaders fan, but it was a really disappointing performance if you were a Cowboys fan. They are going to need, those defensive line and linebackers to level up a little bit to make this an interesting game, because the one benefit that I think that Kyle King has as a quarterback for Mary Hardin-Baylor is that he doesn't have to win games for them. He completes about half of his passes. Maybe he hits on a long one here and there. I know they do some gadget plays and stuff like that, but their offensive line is so good that it just keeps opening holes, wears teams down, and they eventually just win the game because the O-line just wears people out. And then they'll get, maybe a pick six from Fritz, or they'll get a punt return from Miller, or kickoff return for a touchdown. Their special teams are outstanding. So they don't need King to win this game. He can manage it. As long as he doesn't throw, a couple of interceptions that could turn into points, they'll be fine. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think too, if you're a Crusaders fan, you want to see King kind of step it up and maybe stick it to the Cowboys a little bit and show off this really talented wide receiving core that just doesn't really catch the ball that often for a number of different reasons.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. This is one of several big games this weekend. And let's put up the full slate here in big print, and then we'll back out of it. But we'll talk about it in the meantime. We've kind of leveled out Regions 1 and 2 to make way for some extra Region 3 information here. I'll take Region 1. Let's kind of go back and forth here for a second. Rowan versus Salve Regina is an interesting game because of the Springfield connection. Rowan lost to Springfield at home. Now, Salve Regina, if they're going to prove that they're legit out there, they want to move to 4-0 with this. This is a tough game for Salve Regina, even at home, and they're going to prove themselves, I think, with this game, what they're made of here. They beat Montclair, but I think Montclair may be a step below Rowan right now because of the troubles they're having. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out. Hamilton versus Wesleyan in the NESCAC. Here's a game that sets up as who's going to be heir apparent, essentially, to start challenging Williams, as long as Williams keeps doing what they did against Middlebury. You take Region 2.
Yeah, well, the Chicken Riggy Bowl with Union and Utica. This is the Pioneers' homecoming game, and they have the unenviable task of taking on, I think, now number 12 or number 13 ranked Union. They'll be wearing some pretty cool throwback uniforms, Utica that is, and I think it's a special anniversary of the start of their program. But Bellamy and company bring a lot of offensive firepower. They were missing some key players against Springfield and looked a little more mortal. So Utica might have a chance to shake things up here. Ken Fiore kind of carry the load that he did against the Pride when Erebor had to sit that one out.
Region 3, we're going to look at Brevard versus Huntington and the coin toss bowl. We'll see if this game goes the way that we think. Who's home in this game? Because now I've seen it two different ways, actually.
I think it's Brevard who's the home team on this one. I switched it on the other scoreboard slide, but I must have gotten it mixed up here. But yeah, Brevard is the home team in this one. Huntington, they haven't won a game yet, but they have looked pretty strong against the top 10 team. Kind of got the doors blown off them in week 2, but Brevard has struggled also. So really no guarantees either way in this one. We'll have to talk about this in our picks coming up.
Grove City versus Westminster is kind of a confirmation game for both of these teams. Yeah. Who's going to be up there with W&J if W&J can get through Case Western in that night game. So we're going to see kind of some really good pack play throughout the day on Saturday, as the Grove City-Westminster game is an early game, and then the W&J Case Western game is a later game. Trine versus Center is a good out-of-conference matchup to see what Center is made of and what Trine is made of, for that matter, at that point. Region 4, go ahead.
Well, a couple of big matchups here: Mount Union versus John Carroll. A couple of top 25 teams, depending on which rankings you're looking at. We sort of like the Hardin-Simmons UMHB rivalry. I think the Raiders side, feels pretty confident that they're going to take care of the Blue Streaks in this one. Interesting matchup though: Heidelberg versus Baldwin Wallace, which was a team that gave Mount Union a pretty good run for its money just last weekend. So can the Student Princes keep capitalizing on that spring West Division championship and their so far so good start? They'll need to beat this Baldwin Wallace team to keep that momentum going. And then finally, and this is interesting, Frank, I think if my math is right, which is always questionable, there are 16 what we'll call interregional games this weekend, meaning so teams from either 1 versus 2 or 2 versus 3 and so on and so forth. Eau Claire versus Albion is a 6 versus 4 situation. The WIAC has been almost undefeated in out-of-conference play. The Britons are off to a 3-0 start and are favorite in the MIAA, the Michigan Interscholastic Athletic Association. So this would be a big win for Albion if they can pull it off at home, just based on the fact that the WIAC has just been so dominant. And then, we'll see how those other 15 games interregionally sort of pan out, and we'll have to update you when we do crunch time for week 4.
Region 5, Augustana versus North Central. Could it be a letdown game for North Central because they should win this going away? But you know what? After all the energy that it took to win the last 2 games, anything's possible. And you kind of look at what happened in Muhlenberg last week and the any given Saturday scenario. North Central has to be careful here not to let that one go. St. Norbert versus Lakeland. One of those games that starts heating up in the conferences we don't talk a lot about out there in Region 5, and Co versus Wartburg. Wartburg sort of needs to get a win here, and Co could be a very good challenge for them, to say the least. I'll continue in Region 6 just to say Bethel versus St. John's could be the first of 2 incarnations of this game this season if they both get to the championship game. But as we said on the Wednesday show, no guarantee on that. So we'll see where that goes. It's a big game for now, and we'll leave it at that. Go ahead with the other 2.
Yeah, I mean, so the undercard in the ASC this weekend is going to be Howard Payne, who is very quietly, I think, off to a 3-0 start and looking like they could, be a potential challenger. But they need to get past ETBU, which is a team that I think has typically beaten them in the past. So this is a good challenge for the Jackets, and it'll be an interesting undercard for you Texas football fans while you're waiting for Hardin-Simmons and Mary Hardin Baylor to kick off at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Indeed so, sir. Sorry about that. We're just getting my lightning picks stuff ready here, and you caught me by surprise. It's okay. We're just going to continue from there. It's okay. That's pretty good. And so as we
know what else is okay, Frank, before we talk about picks?
Oh, go ahead.
Happy birthday in the Huddle. The day that this is being broadcast is November 24th of 2021. On this day back in 2008, in the Huddle with 2 L's, took to the air, and Frank and Eric, your co-hosts, brought D3 a different type of D3 football coverage to the world, and fans like me couldn't wait to call in and start bugging them. And eventually they're like, the only way we're going to get this Baker guy off our backs is just bring him on board and let him talk about statistics and stuff. And it's kind of crazy to think. I know we're in season 14. I guess this is technically like a 13th birthday, but like you've said before, it's like the start of the 14th year. It's just it's been a lot of fun, and it just feels cool to just recognize that as it's our birthday.
I think you got a little a box pointing into your head right now, so you might want to duck down a little bit there. Yeah. How'd you get so tall suddenly? Obviously, you're still growing in our 13, 14 years here in the Huddle.
I'm growing out this way, not the good way. Shrinking, I think, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, I'm down a game on you, so I need to come back here strong. What are you, 14-10, and I'm 13-11, or something like that?
I have 15-9 and 14-10 is the current standings in our little pick'em contest. So Linfield helped me get one on you. We'll see if you can pick up some ground in week 4.
Well, you know how this works. There's the music. We'll start the clock after I tell you the first game, which is already on the screen. Here we go. Region 1, Rowan at Salve Regina. Just a note before I do start the clock, these are assumed out-of-conference games unless we put the name of the conference after it. So this is an out-of-conference game, and we go by region in terms of who the home team is when we do these. Okay, now that we've explained all that stupidity, it's your turn. Go right ahead. Clock start.
Oh, boy. All right. Rowan struggling defending the run. Salve has one of the best running backs in the country right now, and Joey Moriello, who you got to interview. And you can check out Frank's interview on his Twitter feed, as stated below. I think Salve will do a better job winning the second half, like Coach Gil Martin said, but it's going to be a close call. I think this is going to come down to a field goal, so I will take the Seahawks to win it 27-24.
Yeah, they just can't let an offense find themselves like they did with Montclair in the second half. They've got to basically win 4 quarters of play. They can't lose the second half in this one like they did last week. So I'm going to give Salve the nod here, but like you said, it could be close. 21-20 in favor of Salve Regina. I'll start this one, which is a MAC game. Widener at Albright. Widener seems to be legit this season, although Albright came back in against WestCon in week 2 after that big loss against Salisbury. I like Widener on the road. I think they're a legit team this season. I'm going to pick them to win this game. This will be a high-scoring game, I think 34-27. And every time I say that, it's a low-scoring game, right?
Yeah, well, part of the reason why I thought this would be an interesting matchup, Frank, is that if Albright can run the table in the MAC, they are that one team that will not have to play Del Val. So they have a lot. They have a lot of motivation to win this game at home, but I kind of agree with you. I think the pride is the real deal. Probably going to be, since you went high, I'll go low. I'll say the pride hangs on to win 21-14 in this one in a more of a defensive battle.
Region 2 versus Utica.
Oh boy. I mean, Dutchmen are the better team on paper, theoretically. Utica could play spoiler, but they struggled with putting away Western New England, who I think Union would beat head-to-head. So I'll take the Dutchmen. Another close one, but higher scoring, 38-35.
I'll tell you, when Sonny Bedina's on, he's on. We saw that in the crunch time highlights that we had this week. But I agree, Union got their scare already. I think that woke them up. I think they're going to shake some of the injuries they had with Erebor and Ross Jr. and as long as Colin Lama stopped running all around Frank Bailey Field for a couple days, he'll have his energy back.
He's like Forrest Gump. He's just like going.
Yeah, somebody gave me that joke. We're not going to say who.
That's right.
So it's going to be Union winning 31-20. And as the music stopped, wow, we've exhausted one cycle of William Tell already. I'm going to tell you that the next game is WPI and Montclair, and I go first. This is Montclair's bounce back game. WPI is just struggling right now, getting traction ever since losing that Endicott game. And Montclair found their offense a little bit. I think they're getting their feet underneath them a little bit better. And we don't have to talk about their defense. It's very good. So Montclair wins this game 24-17.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there, Frank. Maybe it might be even a little more lower scoring. I'll take the Red Hawks at home to get their first win, 21-17.
Huntington at Brevard in the USA South.
The Tornadoes, man, they have not looked great. Right out, they lost to a D2 or NAIA team. They lost to Apprentice, turning the ball over a lot. They're averaging only about 13, 14 first downs a game. Huntington is winless, but they've looked better and I think played better, at least. Man, I don't know. I'll take the Red Hawks, I guess, even though, I would love to use an excuse to put that really tight Tornado jersey on and, show some stuff here. I already know where you're going with this one, but I'll take Huntington. I think this is going to be a defensive battle, 28-24.
Just call me Lee Corso. Look, I think at the end of the day, there we go. That looks better. At the end of the day, yeah, that just happened. At the end of the day, I think Brevard is going to be ready for this game. They've been ready for this game for 6 months, essentially. So I'm going to say that Brevard gets it. Huntington looked good against Oshkosh was it back when, but has struggled since. Brevard's had some ups and downs for sure, like you pointed out, but Brevard wins this game. Good defensive struggle, 21-14. As I get this off, I will tell you that the next game is Grove City at Westminster, and I will start. Grove City had a good defense, so did Westminster. And so I'm going to say we're going to have a low-scoring affair here. And that bodes well, I think, for Westminster out of the two of them because they found their offense a little bit last week, more than Grove City did. So I'm going to say 17-10 in favor of Westminster, which is one of the lowest scores I've predicted all season for any team here. We can't hear you, though.
Yeah, we're kind of on the same page, it seems, this week, Frank. I'm agreeing with the Titans as probably being a good pick here based on how well their defense played against Case. I'll take the Titans. I think maybe a higher scoring affair, 35-28.
Then we have another pack game. That's W&J at Case Western Reserve. You go.
Well, W&J has been impressive on both sides of the ball, and they're trying to make a case to be the future champs of the pack, and so they want to take care of Case, who's a team that they've struggled with historically. I like the Presidents in this one. I think they're going to struggle like they did last weekend, though, a bit offensively, so it'll be a lower scoring game. I'll take the W&J to win 28-21.
Trying to make a case, really? I mean, you couldn't do better than that. W&J wins this going away. I think they just have the better team right now out of the two of them. 34-20. Next up, Trine at Center. Only 11 letters combined in these two names. There's a stat for you. One of the shortest ones you'll see, unless Hope was playing.
No, MIT versus Dean will be the shortest that weekend.
I like that. So Trine at Center, I think Center's been showing themselves well, but I think Trine's got an edge here, even on the road. So I'm going to give it to Trine. He just perked up. Yep, I give the Thunder a 31-27 win in this one.
They have won some close games, but I feel like Center's offense is pretty powerful right now. And at home, I think they'll get the job done. This is going to be a huge – the two teams might combine for 100 points. So I think Center wins, but it's going to be like 48-45.
Speed round, here we go. Mount Union, John Carroll, and the OAC, go.
Mount Union will win 42-14.
Yeah, I just don't have the confidence in John Carroll either to make this a game. They tried to in the spring version of this, but I think this is not the spring in terms of the teams that we've got on the field. So I say that Mount Union wins this by the score of 40-20. I do think that we'll see some scoring late by John Carroll. Eau Claire at Albion in Region 4. I'll start. Albion just looks like a good team right now, and Eau Claire is not the cream of the crop when it comes to the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. So I'm going to pick Albion here at home to win 24-10.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Brits too. I think they'll get the job done 31-21.
What could be the de facto MIAC definitive who's going to be the number 1 seed game? Bethel at St. John's, go.
I'll still go with the Johnnies. I think it's going to be a close call, though, like it was against Aurora. So hold on to your whatever. But SJU comes away with a win 28-24.
Upset alert. Bethel wins this game. I think St. John's, it just looks a little too shaky for me in that Aurora game isn't as impressive as we thought it was, I don't think, at this point. I'm going to say Bethel shocks them on the road. 30... now I'm going to say 24-20.
All right.
And finally, we put up there Hardin-Simmons at UMHB. 20 seconds left. We may go overtime here to do this. Look, we said it earlier. The people that are saying 50s and upper 40s for UMHB, etc., you better back off that stuff, folks, because that's just going to light fires under Hardin-Simmons. And I know they've heard it as much as we've heard it. So let's cut the crap here at this point and talk about football and a team that has been bitten so many times by UMHB. They're looking for any excuse to find some motivation to come and beat this damn team. So
yeah,
I would say Pete Frenberg's got his hands full if that's the narrative coming out of Belton right now. Mary Hardin-Baylor wins the game, but this is going to be tight. 31-30.
Yeah, I think it might even be more lower scoring than that. I'll take the Crusaders also. I just think that their track record sort of speaks for itself. 31-27.
31's all around, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Is that 4 touchdowns and a field goal? That seems reasonable.
Yep. Yeah, okay, so we went a little late there, but we're getting better at this 10-minute thing on 12 games.
And
so.
Normally we were like 12 or 15, so a couple of seconds over 10 is an improvement.
Well, I think it's time to run here because we're basically at the hour mark for a preview show, but we did want to preview the Mary Hardin-Baylor Hardin-Simmons game, which I will be at. Like I said, we'll be trying to do, as long as technology cooperates, a pregame show at 5 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Crossing our fingers. We'll talk about the games already played, the games to be played on Saturday, and also have some guests, again, technology permitting at field level. But we do appreciate all of their help at the athletics department and Mary Hardin-Baylor so far to help us get this off the ground and get permission for this in the first place. We do appreciate that greatly. JB, see you Saturday via the interwebs. And folks,
yes.
Be well, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the football. We'll see you, if we don't see you on Saturday, next week with our Crunch Time episode for Week 4.